Why learn chord numbering? In previous videos, I've talked about chords and how to write them down. A C major is a capital C, and A minor is a capital A with a little m after it. An A minor 7's like the A minor, it's got a little 7. This is a pretty good way to start with chords because they tell you exactly what chord you're supposed to play. But if you start writing chord progressions, you're going to want to just not only understand the specific chord and how it sounds, but how that chord sounds compared to other chords around it. What is its relationship with other chords? You start playing a C chord, then you switch to a G. Why? Why G? Why not an F or a D minor or a B flat major 7? What's the difference? Also, if you understand chords by how they relate to one another, changing key is a lot simpler. If you write some chord progression in C, you're not just going to be stuck playing it in C. You could play it in F, A, or F. If a key isn't working for your voice, just change where you start. And if you understand how chords relate to each other, where all the other chords fall should just be obvious to you. Another advantage to knowing chord progressions by their relative position is when you're trying to communicate with other musicians. Some instruments are in different tunings, like when I was in school band, I played the alto saxophone, which was in E flat. So if a guitar or piano were playing a C, I would have to play an A to play the same note that they were playing. Whether you're writing a chart for your backup band or studio musicians, or you're just screaming out the chord changes while you're improvising, relative chord names are a more universal language across many different instruments. Which brings me to why I chose to make this video right now. It's not the most fun thing to talk about, but the next video I want to talk about playing Christmas songs. And to do that, I have to communicate to you what you're supposed to play. Now, what's the best way to do that? Sheet music or just write out the chords? But you may not want to sing it with those chords. So I decided probably the best system is something called Nashville notation. It is a type of relative chord notation that's very popular with country music. Big surprise. A lot of session players are very used to lead sheets in this format. So I needed to make a video where I can introduce it to you, and then in those other videos when I use the notation, I can link back to this video, and then hopefully you'll get some idea of what I'm talking about. I'm just not going to come out of nowhere and start throwing chord numbers at you. Hopefully I've convinced you that learning these relative chord numbers is worth your time and misery. So let's move on then. I'm going to show you the misery. There are two main types of systems. One is called Roman numeral analysis, and this is normally used in classical music theory. If you take a music theory course in college, you're going to see Roman numerals. The other way is called Nashville notation, and this is a lot more common in popular music, country, that sort of thing. But they have a lot in common. If you know one, learning the other is not going to be all that big of a deal. Everything I'm going to talk about next is going to apply to both systems. They're both based on the major scale. So let's recap what the major scale is very quickly. Every step of a major scale, or any diatonic scale, is either going to be a whole step or a half step. For you guitarists, a whole step is 2 frets and a half step is 1 fret. Let's start with the E because, it's guitar and that's really what it's all about. The open E is the first step of the major scale. Then we go up a whole step, another whole step, a half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and the last one is a half step. Now, we can name these notes: E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E, but it's simpler to number them. Why don't we just call the first note 1? We'll call the second note 2. The third note, what should we call that? That's right, boys and girls, the 3. And then it just, you know how to count. 4, 5, 6, 7. And 8 is the octave, which is where it gets its name. So really, there's only 7 notes to worry about. But we're supposed to be talking about chords, not notes. So let's figure out what all of the chords are at every single step of the scale. In Western music theory, chords are built from every other note of the scale. The simplest chords are going to have 3 notes. 2 notes is just called an interval, but 3 or more is called a chord. 3-note chords are called triads. Major and minor chords are both types of triads, the very common types of triads, and that's what you're probably going to be using the bulk of. How do we know when to play a major triad or a minor triad? I mean, you could just memorize them, but I don't like that. It doesn't give you a deeper understanding. Just regurgitating it from a book isn't going to make you a better musician. So I'm going to show you how to figure it out on your own. Triads are made out of 2 intervals. The first interval of a major chord is a major third. Makes sense. 2 whole steps. Here's 2 whole steps. E up on the 4th fret. The second interval is a minor third, or 3 half steps, which makes the third note up 7 frets, which we know, if you watch my harmonic intervals video, is called a perfect 5th. If that doesn't make sense, go ahead, you can go back and watch that video and come back, it's fine. I'll put a link in the description. The 3 notes of the chord are called the root, the third, and the 5th. A minor triad is similar but opposite. The first third is the minor third, so up on the 3rd fret. The second third is a major third. So that's cool. They both end on the 7th fret. They both have a perfect 5th. Now we need to figure out where in the scale these work. Let's walk up the scale and see what we got. Chords are every other note of the scale. So let's just start at the beginning and see what we have at every other note. Most of the steps of the major scale are whole steps, but there are 2 half steps. We'll need to know where those half steps are. They're generally between the 3rd and the 4th, and the 7th and the octave. But, if you're feeling lucky, just try a whole step. You're bound to be right. We'll start on the E. We're going to go 2 steps up at the scale. Whole step, whole step. That is a major third. 2 more steps. That's the minor third. Up to the 5th here. That is a major chord. So we're going to know that in E major, the very first chord, the 1 chord, is going to be a major chord. Isn't that nice? It's a major scale. The first chord is a major chord with a major third. It's like it makes sense. 6 more chords to go. Not too bad. Let's check the second step. Go up 2 steps. 2 steps up the scale. Whole step and a half step is a minor third. The next one is a major third. This is a minor chord because the first one is a minor third. So the second step of the scale, the 2 chord, is minor. On to the 3rd step. Start here, go up 2 steps, minor third, major third. The 3 chord is minor. Start from the 4th. That is a major third and a minor third. The 4th step is a major chord. Go up 2 more. There we have got our 5. 5th step. That is a major third. The 5 is a major chord. 6. half steps, and 4 half steps. The 6 is a minor chord. Remember, this is the same as open, so you can count off the scale starting from the 12th fret. Whole step, half step, whole step, and then you run out of frets. The final, the 7th step, starts right here on the 11th fret. That is a minor third. And that is a minor third. Hold the phone. We haven't talked about this. This chord has 2 minor thirds. It is neither a major chord or a minor chord. Which means that if we started down here, we're not going to end up on the 7th fret with a nice perfect 5th. We end up on the 6th fret with a diminished 5th. Okay, this diminished 5th is going to make this diminished triad, is what it's called, sound extremely different from a major and minor chord. It's going to be much more dissonant. It's not going to fit in. So for right now, pretend like it doesn't exist. Just don't play it. It's not a big deal. I will probably do a video later talking about the ways you can deal with this and ways that you can use diminished chords and make them sound good. But for right now, no. Just don't do it. The good news is this makes our job right now easier because we only have to know 6 chords, not 7. It just gets easier and easier. 3 of them are going to be major and 3 of them are going to be minor. Let's apply what we've just learned. If we're playing a song in E major, just strum it along, doing your thing. Now somebody in the band goes, all right, go to the 4. Well, what do? All right, count up 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is an A. Cool. On the 5th fret. We know from before, the 4 is a major chord, so there you go. Now somebody yells out 5. Okay, good. That's 1 step up. It's probably going to be a whole step. The 1, 4, and 5 are major chords. There you go. And resolve on the 1. Now you are able to scream chords out at your band, and hopefully, if everybody understands chord numbering, it'll all make sense. You guys can jam out without even knowing where you're going. Another cool thing is that you can write these numbers down. That way, if you're still not sure what note you should be starting on, what is your 1, it'll still make sense. Deciding what the 1 is going to be, who knows who's going to be singing it? Maybe it's your baritone, maybe it's your tenor, maybe it's your soprano. You can just move around however you want, and you could stay super flexible. Also, I know as a guitarist playing in E is the one true key, but keyboardists do not like this. Way too many sharps. Maybe you can find a happy medium, but why deal with that now? You're still trying to write the song. Keep it ambiguous, keep it in relative chord numbering, and then you could fight it out later. The important thing is that thinking of chords as numbers keeps you flexible. And until you are certain you are done with the song, probably best to stay flexible. If you're screaming a number at your band, if you are suggesting to your band a chord number to change to, they all sound the same. But once you go to write them down, there are a few different styles. The first kind uses Roman numerals. This is traditionally what you're going to see in Western music theory courses. Capital Roman numerals represent major chords, and the lowercase Roman numerals are minor chords. You can write the chords of the major scale, like capital I, small I, small I, well, you get it. That degree symbol on the 7th, that means it has the diminished 5th, but remember I said don't play it, so just get rid of it. There, 6 chords, that's all you need. But what happens if your song uses a note that maybe isn't in the major scale? I know, what are you doing? Are you crazy? If this unfortunate event happens, all you have to do is put a sharp or a flat symbol right in front of the number. A flat means that it's going to be 1/2 step lower than you would normally play it in the major scale, and a sharp means it's going to be 1/2 step higher. For example, say we're playing in our E major key, the only one there is, but then somebody wants to play an F. Well, what do? Just call it a 2 chord, put a flat in front of it, make it capital. That is an F major chord. Another cool one would be, let's see, what about a sharp? We could say it's a 4, 1/2 step up is a sharp, and we'll make that a minor chord. Ooh, spooky. If you need to add any chord decorations, little sevenths or whatever you need to do, you could just throw them in there as well. And that's all you really need to know. You should be able to write all possible chords in Roman numerals now. The other way you could choose to write it is not use the Roman numerals. I mean, what are we in ancient Rome? We could use regular numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just the same ones you were taught in math class. These are actually called Arabic numerals in the West. In the Middle East, they call them Hindu numerals, and in India, my guess is they just call them numerals because, they were invented there. Thanks, India. Good numbers. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, if we use our normal numbers, there aren't capital and lowercase numbers, so we can't use the trick that we did with Roman numerals to demonstrate which ones were major and which ones were minor. Instead, just normal numbers are going to be major chords. Or if you want to, put an extra fine point on it, you can put a little MAJ after it. Minor chords have a little dash after them, a little minus sign. That way we could write the major scale chords, similar to what we did with Roman numerals, like this. And sharp and flat symbols used exactly the same way as how I showed you when I was introducing the Roman numeral system. Let's demonstrate it again. Remember our example of the F major chord in E major? We'll just write that with a flat 2, and let's put an MAJ after it because we don't really know what that chord should be. Anything that is not a 1, 4, or 5, probably put the MAJ after it, just so everybody is clear on what you mean. There is a lot more to writing a full lead sheet in Nashville notation, and I'd love to go over that one day. But for what I want to discuss in subsequent videos, this should be plenty. What if we don't want to play in a major scale? I feel you, the major scale, it's a little too happy for my tastes. I want something darker. Let's play in a minor scale. Well, how do we deal with that? If you're using Roman numerals, you can do a couple of different things. One is you could just state that it is a minor scale. So if we were going to write this common chord progression, A minor, G, F, E, it's called the Andalusian cadence, by the way, we could write it as starting with a small I, and then the rest as capitals. And just assume that, well, we're starting with a minor. You should know it's a minor key, or we could just write it down next to it, minor key. It's not the best. Another way we could do it is just assume that we are in major. Start with a minor 1, but then we have to have a flat 7, a flat 6, and then a 5 is the same in both. If you're reading these off the page, how do you know which one is which, though? It's not exactly obvious. So in Nashville notation, the rule is you are always to assume a major scale. The reason they can get away with this is that the major scale isn't just one scale. If the tonic is where we start, then it's major. But what if we wanted to make the tonic start here, or here, or here? Really, one major scale is 7 different scales. As long as you hear the tonic on a different note, it's a completely different scale. In this case, a minor scale is a major scale if the tonic starts on the 6. That way, Nashville notation, they don't care what you think the tonic is, which makes sense because it doesn't matter what you write down what the tonic is. You can't write down a tonic. It is completely in the ear and the mind of the listener. Claim it's in whatever key you want, but people are going to hear it the way they are going to hear it. If the 6 is minor, we can write the minor scale as this. And it seems weird at first that you start on the 6 and not the 1, but once you get used to it, there will be no confusion about which chords you're supposed to be playing, and you'll be able to write these lead sheets out without using tons of sharps and flats. So far, I've only demonstrated where to find the chords up along the E string, but I hear there are keys other than E. As a guitarist, it's hard to believe, but who knows what key some strange clarinet player is going to want you to play in. If you happen to find yourself in one of these strange and frightening keys like A, well, how are we supposed to find our chords then? I only showed you how to find them in E. So I'm going to show you a few tricks that should help you find the chords no matter where you are. Let's try a weird key. How about A flat? Not going to be any open chords in this key. We're only going to need the 4 basic bar chords to do this. The E major shape, the E minor shape, the A major shape, and the A minor shape. We're in A flat. The 1 chord this is a major scale. The 1 chord is going to be major. We found one down, 5 to go. Let's start by finding the 4 chord. The guitar strings are tuned in fourths, except between the B and the E, but they're almost always in fourths. So if we want to go to the 4th, all we have to do is change from the E major to the A major. Now we have our 4 chord. Let's look for the 5 chord. Well, that's going to be a step up. Usually it's a whole step. Let's move up 2. And there is the 5. 1. There you go. There are the 3 major chords in any key starting on the E string. You probably have enough to be in a nationally successful band. We found the 1, 4, and the 5, all the major chords, and the 7 is verboten. So we only have the 2, the 3, and the 6 left. So the 2 is going to be a step up from the 1, which is usually a whole step, and we're right. And all the rest are going to be minor chords. There you go. E minor shaped bar chord up at the 6th fret. The 3rd, up another step, also minor. Another place you can find the 3rd is we can start from the 4th and go down a half step. Oh, there's that 1 half step I was warning you about. Don't worry, they're mostly whole steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we only have the 6 left. Whole step up from the 5, minor chord. Nice. That means we have found all the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Not bad. That's all you need to know if you're starting with the E-shaped major chord, but what if we're starting with an A-shaped, with the root on the A string? Let's say we're playing an E flat. Why you would want to do that, I have no idea. Guitarists, if you really want to play an E flat, just tune all of your strings down a half step. But For example, if we're playing an E flat, heresy, there will be the 1. Okay, we found the E flat. It is on the 6th step of the A string. Now let's try to find the 5 next. The strings are tuned in fourths, but an inverted fourth is a 5th, so all we have to do to get the 5 is just change to the E shape. 1, 5. Where's the 4? Oh, whole step down. 4, 5, 1. Well, scratch the major chords off of our to-do list because we've just found all of them. Now all we really need to do is find our 2, 3, and 6. The 2, minor chord up a whole step from the 1. The 6, up a whole step from the 5. And the 3rd can, let's say, down a half step from the 4. And here's our E flat major chords. But what about the chords in the minor scale? I love minor. Minor should be the only key. Major it's just too commercial. I'm not going to sell out and write in a major key. Can't tell me what to do. There are 2 ways to approach this. One is using the relative minor. Let's start with that A flat major that we were working on. The 6th step is an F minor. Let's start down here. Let's do the low F minor. Cool. Now, all we have to do is start here and play all of the exact same chords that we had already found when we were figuring it out A flat major. So here we go, A flat major, skip the 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then end on the tonic, the F minor. Cool. The other way to approach this is kind of similar to major, but backwards. So we'll start on the F minor and then go to the 4. Change to the A-shaped, A minor shaped chord. That's the 4. Where's the 5? Up 2 frets. And they're all minor. In the natural minor scale, the 1, 4, and 5 are all minor chords. In the major scale, the 1, 4, and 5 are the 3 major chords. Isn't that nice how that works out? Doesn't always work out that nicely. Music theory is more art than science. But in this case, doing the 1, 4, and 5 minor, all we have to do is just find the 3 major chords now. Let's start up here. We'll do start on the high F minor. The 7 is going to be down a whole step, and these are all major, so if we find them, we know they're major. 6 is down another whole step. We could also think of it as a half step up from the 5. And then the 3 is a whole step down from the 4. And here's our the chord that shall not be named is in the 2nd step here. Remember, it's the 7th step of the major scale. Minor scale is down here at the 6, so that 7 is going to be the 2. Pretend it's not there. I think it's good to think about minor scales both ways, as a relative minor and as an actual different scale with different steps. Nashville notation will always use the relative minor concept, so definitely you need to know that one. Hopefully, this introduction of the concept of chord numbering is clear enough to get you started and at least understand it. You're going to need to practice and watch more, read more, whatever works for you to get these concepts down. Because in upcoming videos, I'm taking this concept and running. I don't have time to go over the basics every single time. You can see how complicated it is. But I want to start saying, hey, play the 1, 4, 5, and you're at least going to know, Oh, right, that's that thing he talked about in the other video. I better go back to that then. So I'll try to leave a link in case some beginners find a later video and they haven't seen this one